Do you still believe in him as much as you did prior to this?
I do. Nick Foles is not Aaron Rodgers. Nick Foles is not going to overcome your problems. That's not who he is. If you have a terrible offensive line and he can't step into the pocket and he throws those 50-50 balls, which is part of his success, right? Like, I believe in my receiver, give him a shot, even if it's an imperfectly thrown ball. But instead of being able to step into a pocket, he has to throw off his back foot. That's not for Nick Foles. That's not like, he's not a miracle man that way. Nick Foles is the kind of guy where if you have a competent offensive line and you have some weapons around him, he's not only not going to stop, and you have a defense, he's not only not, because there are a lot of quarterbacks who fit in this category. If they have the right coaching and a good team, this quarterback won't stop them from succeeding, even if he's not the guy to bring them success. I think Nick Foles is a level beyond that. I think if you surround Nick Foles with the right situation, an offensive line, some weapons, a good defense, a good coach, he's not only not going to stop you from having success, he can galvanize that team in the moment of truth better than just a mid-pack quarterback. My basic feeling about him is he's an average NFL starter, which is a good thing, with an extra dimension to him where guys like to play with him, where he's not afraid of the big moment. That's who I always thought he was. And on this Chicago team, given the potential of their defense has played very well. I think they have the potential to be even better. I thought something could happen. But what was exposed last week, Stephen A., is that the Bears' offensive line just can't get it done. Now, it was especially bad because they kept getting they kept getting the ball on their own 5-yard line, basically. So without an offensive line, that's an especially bad problem. But I think the Bears were exposed, unimaginative play calling by Nagy, not a lot of weapons, and primarily a problem on the offensive line. Nick Foles ain't going to overcome that. But if you can get some of those things fixed, Nick Foles can be a guy who can take you there.
Here's my problem. You're not, I can't definitively say you're wrong. He's a Super Bowl champion. We know what he did in Philadelphia when he won the Super Bowl. We know what he did the following year when Carson Wentz went down for a second consecutive time and he took them to the playoffs, beat Chicago, and then ultimately lost to New Orleans in that divisional playoff game. We've seen what Nick Foles can do, particularly when he has coaching. The question to me, Max, is we don't bring up enough about the coaching of the Chicago Bears. Matt Nagy, you gonna give up play calling? You gonna give up play calling ability? You gonna give up play calling responsibilities? You gonna let Bill Lazor coach? Bill Lazor, should he really be calling plays? Should he be that guy as the offensive coordinator? He had 2 years in Miami, he wasn't stellar. He had 2 years in Cincinnati, he wasn't stellar. Okay, then he had a year's hiatus off before he comes in and takes over Chicago. I've never seen this man with a top 10 offense. I'm looking at numbers from his rushing. From rushing the football, passing the football. He's hovering around the 20s, the teens in passing, the 20s in rushing. What does Chicago have now? They got the worst rushing attack in football, led by David Montgomery. They got a 25th ranked passing attack. They've got the 27th overall offense. Excuse me, and a lot of that may have to do with your offensive line because you can't block for the run, you can't protect for the pass, and you took a guy out of the lineup in Mitchell Trubisky who could at least run with the football, although we didn't trust his throwing. So I look at it from that perspective, and I say, what are we to expect from Nick Foles? Your play calling is suspect, your offensive line is suspect, and your running game as a result is suspect. And passing, it's really on you because we know Allen Robinson can play. We know he can play. And so you sit and you know Jimmy Graham and those boys can play as well. We're just looking at it right now. The fact that they're 5-2, you got to give the head coach credit because of their defense. That's really about their defense.
It is, and Allen Robinson's a good receiver, but he's the only one who's really
he's the only one that's a really good receiver. But you only have one good receiver. You got a suspect running game. You got other suspect wideouts. Jimmy Grant has had somewhat of a resurrection to some degree, at least a couple of games. They're 5-2 because their defense is answering the call.
Yeah, the offense.
And even though I think that Nick Foles is better than Mitchell Trubisky, because of all of those problems, I think you might need a more mobile quarterback.
You might be, maybe, and Mitch Trubisky is very fast. But he doesn't throw the ball down the field like Nick Foles.
Not at all.
Here's the thing about Nick Foles. Like, really, you're asking, who is Nick Foles? Is he just a figment of our imagination kind of? Look, Nick Foles at Arizona was the second best quarterback in the Pac-12 to Andrew Luck. He was better than Matt Barkley, who got more press because he was at SC. He's better than Brock Osweiler, who got more press because he was so tall, right? But Nick Foles was clearly better than those guys in college. He was second to Andrew Luck in the Pac-12. He turns pro. With the Eagles, he had, as a quarterback, an 8-2 record the year he threw 27 touchdowns to 2 interceptions under Chip Kelly. That's a baller. right? Like a baller at Arizona, baller with Chip Kelly. When he took over the Eagles, I thought they were dead in the water after Carson Wentz got hurt. Yeah. Took him to the Super Bowl, won Super Bowl MVP. When he took over the Eagles the following year, they were a 500 team. They were also they were dead in the water for a different reason. They weren't going to make the playoffs. Under Nick Foles, they caught fire. They made the playoffs. They beat this Bears defense at Soldier Field and then almost beat the Saints at New Orleans. Like, yes, in those situations I'm describing, he had the right setup. He's not a guy who's going to overcome a bad offensive line.
Which means we got to look at the setup.
Are the Bears going to win? Or are they better off with Mitch Trubisky?
You just said no.
He can't throw the ball down the field accurately.
Listen to me. A few weeks ago, I would have told you hell no. But when we see all the problems that they have, you've got Nick Foles back there as a stationary target. You can't protect him. Look at the play that they showed on Monday Night Football.
Of his problems
remember when Brian Griese and Louis Riddick were highlighting the play on Monday Night Football when that rookie put a move on Jalen Ramsey? You had 3 offensive linemen all geared towards Aaron Donald.
Yeah, facing Aaron Donald every week.
So you're playing 3-on-2, but I'm just saying 3 guys. You got 3-on-2 on the defensive side coming at Nick Foles. He had to unleash the ball early, which is obviously why he overthrew the receiver, because the receiver hadn't even broken yet. My point is, it's not him, but it could be the personnel around you. And if you don't have help, why have a stationary target when you don't have help for him?
I'll tell you why. I think that was a bad matchup against the Rams because of Aaron Donald.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
And a punter who can keep pinning you back so deep. But I think against most teams, that they can do well enough to be in the game, and then I want Nick Foles under center.
Sure.
All right,
cool.
so good enough reasons to have faith still in Nick Foles.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.